Welcome to the Answer is Yes podcast, where we interview some of the most interesting people that have said yes to opportunities in their life. We hope that through these stories, you can learn to create your own destiny by saying yes along the way. Join us as we explore the new series covering topics such as passion, integrity, and hard work. I'm your host, Jim Riley, and I hope you enjoy these interviews as much as I do. I believe that everyone has an important message worth hearing. Hello and welcome to the Answers Yes podcast. I thank you for tuning in to this week's show. As I'm sure you've noticed, we've got a new intro, and we have a lot of exciting things to come for the balance of this year. I hope you enjoy them with many more exciting guests. We've changed our theme up a little bit, and kicking this off, this week I have founder and CEO of the MeltShop out of the East Coast, mainly New York, and the owner's name is Spencer Rubin. At a very young age, he started this restaurant concept through some of his background in the industry, and he talks about the challenges of being a hopeful entrepreneur, as he calls it, a sandwich junkie and a Jersey native. Also talks about franchising and expanding his business and the challenges of doing and being involved in the restaurant business in this day and age. So I hope you enjoy this week's show. Thanks for tuning in. Well, I've got Spencer Rubin on the line. Spencer, how are you today?
Great, Jim. Thanks for having me.
Dude, I'm really excited about talking to you about your restaurant and what you guys are doing. After I look through the menu, not only am I hungry, but there's a few things on there that would be worth traveling from California to New York to just have right now, like your tater-tot selections.
Thank you so much. Yeah, no, it's a very craveable menu. That's what we're shooting for. So sounds like it's working.
Yeah, it is. Well, I noticed on your photos with you and Josh there, it's a headshot really only. So are you putting on the freshman 15 from the menu and a lot of eating all that junk food over there? Or where's it goes up and down, quite honestly. I mean, when we're in the middle of like menu creative, oh my God, it's crazy. I'll have days where I'll have like 15 to 20 sandwiches. I mean, I'm not eating the entire thing, but it's it's a pretty significant undertaking and physical commitment, if you will. I think life's about balance, right? And for somehow, some way, I've managed to stay fairly fit while eating what we do all the time. And I think we have a lot of options, stuff that's healthier, not always as indulgent. We have something that we like to categorize as healthy indulgence. Yeah.
Like roasted vegetable melts that really, I think, do strike a really nice balance between craveable and healthy. I'm a $160, so pretty slim.
That's pretty good. I'm 162, so good job on that. Well, listen, I'm not here to harass you about your diet, but I'm so interested in your business. A lot of my listeners know that I've been in the restaurant and alcohol business most of my life. My days at In-N-Out Burger way back when. I spent 12 years there making a lot of hamburgers and really enjoyed the process. But can you back us up a little bit in your history and kind of where you came from and what got you started in being an entrepreneur, maybe some of your first jobs?
Yeah, absolutely. So I grew up in Montclair, New Jersey, and I would say like my first kind of entrepreneurial venture, like I think you hear like a lot of people say, was a lemonade stand, right? So
yeah.
I grew up, my parents always supported my my love of food, and I did all sorts of things in my hometown, but started with a killer lemonade stand, tried selling all sorts of things, got pretty close with a local restaurateur, and he gave me tours of his kitchen, and we'd eat there all the time, and I got to work there in high school. And so over time, I really developed this love for not only food, but the restaurant business, and really set my sights on owning my own restaurant one day. Went to the hotel school at Cornell, studied hospitality, went in there with the thought that I would own and operate my own like fine dining restaurant, maybe even go to culinary school and become a chef. And halfway through college, started actually looking at case studies on different fast casual brands like Chipotle and others that were really hot at the time, In-N-Out, Five Guys, things like that, and really fell in love with the kind of intersection of what I thought was like really high quality, craveable food, but with the growth potential and scalability of multi-unit restaurants. So I, midway through college, decided I wanted to try and get involved in something that would allow me to better understand that side of the business. And I worked for a restaurant development company, had an internship there, building restaurants for other brands, and turned that into my first job out of college. And I think that's a good kind of moment to really just touch on an opportunity when I said yes to something that really like catapulted me to where I am today. Like when I was graduating, I was really looking for different restaurant opportunities. I had gotten an offer from my employer from the summer before, but I also had a lot of much higher paying offers working for restaurant operators. But the offer that I got from the position that I eventually took was making very little money, but with a promise of getting really great entrepreneurial hands-on experience to learn how to like build a business from the ground up. And ultimately that's what I said yes to. And I'm really grateful that I did that, because it's led me to MeltShop today. So I did that for 3 years, built. Sorry?
Yeah, I want to stop you right there real quick, because I think it's really important to point out what you had. The conscious decision that you made was to take a job that you would learn more about being an entrepreneur and hands-on experience as opposed to the money. And if I heard you correctly, you'd just gotten out of college. That's a tough decision to make, especially, living East Coast, lifestyle's a little bit more expensive out there. What gave
New
you,
York City.
Yeah. What gave you the maturity at that time to make that type of decision? Because I know it would be hard for many, because they're going to chase the money.
Yeah. Well, so ultimately, I had a number of operations offers, and these were offers from like really reputable hospitality companies with really rock solid training programs, right? Mm-hmm. So like they were real offers, and ones I was excited about. But ultimately, I kind of like broke it down to two offers that I was most interested in, and one was this, and it was working for a restaurant development company in Manhattan, and I think the salary at the time that I was offered was $30,000 a year. Mm-hmm. And I had an offer to be an assistant general manager at a very reputable restaurant for a very reputable restaurateur, and go through their entire training program in Las Vegas. And the offer was about $70,000, right? So more than double. And what I realized, I had some previous experience working in fine dining in a number of different very reputable companies in Manhattan. And, I thought to myself, what am I going to be happier doing? And what's going to get me closer to my goal? And even though like almost all of my friends graduating college are making 2 to like 5 times what I was making, and all said I was absolutely crazy, I really felt like it was the right fit for me, because I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I wanted to be involved in starting my own business, scaling my own business. And I felt like going down the path of working as an assistant general manager was going to teach me how to run someone else's business, but not teach me how to build my own. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was a mature decision on my part at that age, but also definitely a very scary one. Also, like, I love Las Vegas, right? Like, it could have been a very good time. But ultimately, I think I definitely made the right decision, and I'm really happy I did it.
I'm just thinking about the restaurant business in Manhattan. I'm not from there, but I've spent a lot of time in the city, a lot of time in restaurants for many, many years because I was in the alcohol business. To me, it seems very intimidating to the notion of starting something there and being in that business. And sounds like you jumped in with both feet and avoided the Las Vegas trap. Good for you. But what gave you the courage to stay in that business in New York with all the competition, all the people and opportunities there?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. A couple things. One, the job I got out of college, working for a restaurant development company, helped me build confidence in understanding how to actually physically build a restaurant from the ground up. I think it can be, you don't know what you don't know, right? And like, that's the front end of building any restaurant, right? So like, I already knew kind of like what that part of the process looked like.
Yeah.
And so I was able to kind of start it right, if that makes sense. And,
Sure.
It's part of the reason I took that job, was specifically because, you hear all the stats about how many startups fail and then how many restaurant startups fail, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whether they're, QSR or fine dining. And a lot of the time they fail because they're undercapitalized, and a lot of times they're undercapitalized because they actually just spend on their build out, right? So like understanding how to just invest dollars wisely and build things on time and on budget in the right way. I really got to learn how to do that. I graduated in May, started in June, and did that for 3 years straight. And so by the time I got to the opportunity for MeltShop, I was able to kind of really just like keep doing what I was doing on the front end of that process from a design build perspective. And then, there were a ton of sleepless nights going, like when we were trying to decide what the name was going to be and what the menu was going to be and how we were going to brand this thing. And, those were, I kind of tortured myself a little bit, right? Like trying to decide, like making those decisions. I was only 24 years old when I was going through that process.
Yeah.
And so you really, really like overthink things, especially when you don't have the experience of making decisions like that, right? So, but I think to answer your question, I got a really good piece of advice when I asked a mentor of mine, what's really the difference between like entrepreneurs and everybody else, was the question I posed to him. And he said, like, I don't know if this really answers your question. He's like, but like entrepreneurs really just end up taking that like extra step to like do it. And everybody else like who wants to do it just doesn't take the step, right? Doesn't jump in.
Yeah.
And it's not to say like you jump in with 2 feet recklessly, but like at some point you need to like actually make the decisive decision to go versus like just not do it, right? And so I think that's really what happened. We were like, all right, we found this space, it's the right price. We can do it very affordably because we know how to build restaurants. Like, let's give this a shot. It's not a huge risk proposition. It's low risk. And I'm 24 years old. I'm single, not married. What do I got to lose, right? So, my partners were very supportive, and that's how we got MeltShop started.
Yeah, it's awesome. So, Spencer, connect the few dots. You're working the other job. You're starting to think about starting your own thing. It sounds like you might have been working those sleepless nights, figuring out your business plan and the like. At what point did you step away and go, okay, it's time to go all out. I'm on my own. I'm gonna do this thing. Did you raise capital? Did you use money that you had saved? How did that all go down?
Great question. And I certainly need to clarify a couple things. So I was building restaurants for a company in Manhattan, small business with a great client list. And they did unbelievable work. One of our clients had a small restaurant operation in the city, which they were growing. And my old boss and those operators decided to partner together with me to build this business, right? So it was all out in the open. I transitioned very seamlessly from my old job to doing this full time. I was doing my old job in this part time with my boss's full support and approval. He was a partner of the business. And so that's kind of how it happened. So we never had to like go out and like put together a business plan. These guys had seen my work for years. They fully trusted me. I put a budget together of needing $200,000 to start the entire brand and business, pay myself a salary and get a real estate lease deposit together